power. It is a double-edged sword capable of great good and terrible evil. In the hands of the righteous, it can uplift nations, protect the vulnerable, and advance the cause of justice. Yet when wielded by the corrupt, power becomes a tool of oppression, a weapon against the innocent, and a source of unimaginable suffering. Throughout history, the abuse of power by governments and institutions has been a recurring nightmare, a testament to the fragility of human nature and the constant need for vigilance. From the Roman Empire's descent into decadence to the horrors of the Soviet gulags, the unchecked authority of the powerful has often led to tyranny and despair. The United States, founded on principles of liberty and justice for all, has not been immune to this dark side of power. Over the decades, numerous scandals have shaken the nation's conscience, exposing the potential for corruption that lurks within even the most seemingly impenetrable institutions. Two such scandals, PizzaGate and MKUltra, stand as chilling examples of this potential for abuse, raising profound questions about the nature of power, the limits of government, and the very essence of human morality. These cases, shrouded in controversy and often dismissed as mere conspiracy theories, demand our attention not because they confirm our darkest fears, but because they challenge us to confront uncomfortable truths about the world we live in. They force us to acknowledge that the line between truth and fiction can be blurred, that power can corrupt even the most well-intentioned, and that the pursuit of justice often requires unwavering courage in the face of overwhelming opposition. The stories of PizzaGate and MKUltra are not for the faint of heart. They delve into the darkest corners of human behavior, exposing the potential for evil that exists within us all. In the murky underworld of online forums and conspiracy theories, a sinister tale began to unfold in late 2016. Dubbed PizzaGate, it centered around a seemingly innocuous Washington, D.C. pizzeria, Comet Ping Pong. What started as cryptic online messages hinting at dark secrets quickly spiraled into a full-blown scandal, alleging a pedophile ring operating at the highest levels of government. The evidence, pieced together by internet sleuths, was largely circumstantial. Bizarre Instagram posts from pizzeria staff, strange symbols allegedly linked to pedophilia, and connections between restaurant owner James Alefantis and prominent Democratic Party figures. At the heart of the scandal were the leaked emails of John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign chairman. Online investigators claimed the emails contained coded messages referencing pedophilic activities, fueling the flames of the conspiracy. The mainstream media, quick to dismiss PizzaGate as fake news, launched a full-scale offensive, branding anyone who dared entertain the possibility of its validity as delusional conspiracy theorists. Despite the media blackout and widespread ridicule, the PizzaGate story refused to die. Those who delved into its depths found themselves confronted with a disturbing question. What if there was more to the story than the official narrative suggested? The allegations, if true, pointed to a horrifying reality, a powerful cabal of elites engaging in unspeakable acts shielded from justice by their wealth and influence. The potential implications were staggering, shaking the very foundations of American democracy and raising profound questions about the nature of power and the corrupting influence it can have on even the most seemingly upstanding individuals. While PizzaGate emerged from the depths of the internet, MKUltra, a chilling chapter in the CIA's history, revealed the dark potential of government-sanctioned mind control experiments. Conducted from the 1950s to the early 1970s, MKUltra sought to develop techniques for manipulating individuals through psychological torture, brainwashing, and the administration of mind-altering drugs, most notably LSD. The program's origins lay in the Cold War paranoia that gripped the United States, a time when the threat of communist infiltration and espionage loomed large. The CIA, desperate to gain an edge over its Soviet rivals, poured resources into MKUltra, believing that mind control held the key to unlocking the secrets of interrogation persuasion and even the creation of sleeper agents. Subjects of MKUltra, often unwitting participants, were subjected to horrific experiments. They were dosed with LSD, hypnotized, subjected to sensory deprivation, and subjected to various forms of psychological torture, all in the name of national security. The program's methods were as brutal as they were unethical, violating the basic human rights of its victims in the pursuit of a chilling objective: to control the human mind itself. MKUltra remained shrouded in secrecy for years, its existence only coming to light in the 1970s through a series of congressional investigations and the release of classified documents. The revelations sent shockwaves through the nation, exposing the dark underbelly of the CIA and raising serious questions about the agency's accountability and the limits of government power in a free society. The heart of PizzaGate beats within the walls of Comet Ping Pong, an unassuming pizzeria nestled in the eclectic Adams Morgan neighborhood of Washington, D.C., owned by James Alefantis, a man with close ties to the Democratic Party elite. Comet Ping Pong became the epicenter of a scandal that would rock the nation. What began as online whispers, fueled by cryptic messages and bizarre imagery, quickly escalated into a full-blown conspiracy theory, alleging that the pizzeria served as a front for a pedophile ring involving high-ranking government officials and influential figures in the Democratic Party. Online investigators poring over social media posts and public records uncovered a network of connections between Alefantis and prominent Democrats, including John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign chairman. These connections, while seemingly innocuous on the surface, fueled suspicions among those who believed that something sinister was afoot. Adding fuel to the fire were the Instagram posts of Comet Ping Pong employees, many of which featured disturbing imagery and seemingly coded language. Images of children in compromising positions, alongside captions laden with sexual innuendo, raised red flags among those already suspicious of the pizzeria's alleged ties to pedophilia. These online discoveries, shared and amplified across message boards and social media platforms, quickly gained traction, transforming PizzaGate from a fringe theory into a viral phenomenon. The public, hungry for answers and distrustful of official narratives, began to connect the dots, piecing together a story that was as disturbing as it was unbelievable. Central to the PizzaGate conspiracy were the leaked emails of John Podesta, a longtime Democratic strategist and the chairman of Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. Hacked in the months leading up to the election, the emails published by WikiLeaks provided a treasure trove of information for those seeking to expose corruption and wrongdoing within the Democratic Party. Among the mundane campaign logistics and internal communications, PizzaGate proponents claim to have uncovered coded messages referencing pedophilic activities. Words like pizza, hot dog, and cheese, they argued, were not about food at all, but rather served as euphemisms for underage boys, girls, and sexual acts. One email, in particular, sent shivers down the spines of those investigating PizzaGate. In it, Tony Podesta, John's brother, and an art collector with a penchant for disturbing imagery, was invited to a spirit-cooking dinner hosted by Marina Abramovich, a performance artist known for her often graphic and ritualistic work. The term spirit cooking, coupled with Abramovich's controversial artistic history, sent shockwaves through the PizzaGate community. Rumors spread like wildfire, alleging that the dinner was not a culinary gathering, but rather a satanic ritual involving child sacrifice and other unspeakable acts. These interpretations of the Podesta emails, while dismissed as baseless by mainstream media outlets and fact-checkers, resonated deeply with those who believed that a powerful cabal of elites was operating above the law, engaging in horrific crimes with impunity. As the PizzaGate conspiracy gained momentum, spreading like wildfire across the internet, the mainstream media, traditionally tasked with informing the public and holding the powerful accountable, responded with a deafening silence. When they did finally acknowledge its existence, it was only to dismiss it as fake news, a dangerous and unfounded conspiracy theory peddled by right-wing extremists and internet trolls. Major news outlets, from CNN to the New York Times, published articles debunking PizzaGate, labeling it a baseless and harmful hoax. Social media platforms, under pressure from politicians and activist groups, took steps to censor and suppress PizzaGate-related content, labeling it as misinformation and suspending accounts that dared to share it. This coordinated effort to discredit and silence PizzaGate had a chilling effect on free speech and open debate. Those who attempted to raise questions or present evidence supporting the conspiracy were met with ridicule, censorship, and accusations of being unhinged conspiracy theorists. This media blackout, rather than quelling the PizzaGate fire, only served to further inflame it. The more the mainstream media attempted to suppress the story, the more convinced its proponents became that there was something to hide, that a powerful and influential cabal was working behind the scenes to silence anyone who dared to expose their crimes. The dawn of the Cold War ushered in an era of unprecedented paranoia and suspicion. The United States, locked in an ideological battle with the Soviet Union, found itself grappling with the very real threat of communist infiltration and espionage. Fear permeated every level of society as the spectre of brainwashing and mind control loomed large in the public imagination. It was against this backdrop of fear and uncertainty that the CIA launched Project MK-Ultra, a top-secret program aimed at developing techniques for manipulating and controlling the human mind. The agency, convinced that its Soviet counterparts were already engaged in similar research, believed that mastering mind control was essential for national security, a matter of winning the Cold War or succumbing to communist domination. MK-Ultra's architects envisioned a world where American spies could extract information from their enemies without their knowledge, where double agents could be created with the snap of a finger, and where the very thoughts and actions of individuals could be manipulated to serve the interests of the state. The program's origins can be traced back to the aftermath of World War II, when the United States, eager to exploit the scientific advancements of its defeated enemies, recruited former Nazi doctors and scientists with expertise in interrogation, torture, and psychological manipulation. These individuals, many of whom had conducted horrific experiments on concentration camp prisoners, brought with them a chillingly pragmatic approach to mind control, one that placed little value on human life or ethical considerations. Driven by a toxic combination of Cold War paranoia and a willingness to push the boundaries of science and morality, MK-Ultra's architects embarked on a dark and dangerous path, one that would have devastating consequences for countless innocent victims. Section 2. The Experiments: A Descent into Darkness. In the sterile confines of secret laboratories and research facilities scattered across the United States and Canada, MK-Ultra's sinister agenda began to take shape. The program's researchers, driven by a relentless pursuit of results and shielded by a veil of secrecy, subjected countless unwitting victims to a battery of horrific experiments, all in the name of national security. At the heart of MK-Ultra's arsenal was LSD, a powerful hallucinogenic drug that had only recently been synthesized and remained largely unknown to the public. The CIA, intrigued by LSD's ability to alter perceptions, induce hallucinations, and potentially break down psychological barriers, saw it as the key to unlocking the secrets of mind control. Subjects, often lured into participating under false pretenses or unknowingly dosed with LSD slipped into their food or drinks, were subjected to a terrifying array of experiments designed to test the drug's effects on human consciousness and behavior. They were bombarded with sensory overload, subjected to sleep deprivation, and subjected to hypnosis and subliminal messaging, all in an attempt to break down their resistance and mold them into more pliable subjects. As MK-Ultra's scope expanded, so too did its brutality. Researchers, frustrated by their inability to achieve consistent results with LSD, began to experiment with other mind-altering drugs as well as electroshock therapy, hypnosis, and even torture, all in a desperate attempt to crack the code of human consciousness. The program's victims, stripped of their autonomy and subjected to unimaginable horrors, often suffered lasting psychological trauma. Many emerged from their ordeal with shattered minds, haunted by fragmented memories and unable to distinguish between reality and the drug-induced hallucinations they had endured. MK-Ultra's legacy is one of pain, suffering, and the gross abuse of power. It stands as a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition, the seductive allure of forbidden knowledge, and the ease with which ethical boundaries can be crossed in the pursuit of a greater good. Section 3. Unmasking MK-Ultra revelations and cover-ups. For nearly 2 decades, MK-Ultra operated in the shadows, its sinister activities hidden from public view by a wall of secrecy and government obfuscation. The program's very existence was known only to a select few within the CIA and the highest echelons of power, its true nature concealed even from many of those tasked with carrying out its horrific experiments. The truth about MK-Ultra began to emerge slowly, like whispers in the dark, in the early 1970s. A series of investigative reports, fueled by leaks from within the intelligence community and the growing public distrust of government secrecy in the wake of the Watergate scandal, began to shine a light on the CIA's shadowy world of covert operations and mind control experiments. In 1975, a Senate committee led by Senator Frank Church launched a landmark investigation into the CIA's activities, including MK-Ultra. The committee's findings, revealed in a series of explosive public hearings, sent shockwaves through the nation, exposing the program's horrific abuses and the CIA's systematic efforts to conceal its crimes from the American people. Facing mounting public pressure and congressional scrutiny, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered the destruction of all MKUltra records in 1973 in a desperate attempt to cover up the program's existence and shield the agency from accountability. However, a cache of some 20,000 documents overlooked in the purge survived, providing a chilling glimpse into the program's dark underbelly. These documents, released to the public through Freedom of Information Act requests, revealed the shocking extent of MKUltra's activities, detailing the program's use of LSD, electroshock therapy, and other mind control techniques on unwitting subjects. The revelations sparked outrage and calls for reform, leading to new laws and regulations governing intelligence gathering and human experimentation. Despite these efforts at accountability, the full extent of MKUltra's crimes remains unknown. Many of the program's records were permanently destroyed, and countless victims, their minds shattered by the program's horrific experiments, were left to grapple with the trauma of their experiences in silence, their stories lost to history. Section 1. Shadows of the Cold War CIA versus KGB. The Cold War, a period marked by ideological conflict and the ever-present threat of nuclear annihilation, cast a long shadow over the latter half of the 20th century. At the heart of this global struggle stood two intelligence agencies, locked in a deadly game of espionage, subterfuge, and psychological warfare. The United States Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, and the Soviet Union's Komitet Gosударственной Безопасности, KGB. Born out of the ashes of World War II, both agencies were tasked with protecting their respective nations' interests in a world increasingly defined by suspicion, mistrust, and the constant threat of espionage. The CIA, shrouded in secrecy and operating with relative autonomy, sought to undermine communist influence around the globe, often resorting to covert operations, regime change, and the manipulation of foreign governments. The KGB, a sprawling organization with its tentacles deeply embedded in every facet of Soviet society, served as both the sword and shield of the communist state. It ruthlessly suppressed internal dissent, monitored its citizens with an iron fist, and conducted espionage operations on a global scale, seeking to expand Soviet influence and undermine its enemies. While their ideologies and ultimate goals differed, the CIA and KGB shared a common thread, a willingness to operate outside the bounds of conventional morality, to sacrifice individual liberties in the name of national security, and to justify their actions as necessary evils in a world teetering on the brink of destruction. Their rivalry, played out in the shadows of the Cold War, left an enduring legacy of distrust, suspicion, and the chilling realization that even in the pursuit of noble goals, the line between good and evil can be perilously thin. Section 2. Instruments of control, methods, and tactics. The CIA and KGB, despite their ideological differences, employed a strikingly similar arsenal of tools and tactics in their pursuit of intelligence and global dominance. Espionage, the clandestine art of gathering information through covert means, formed the bedrock of both agencies' operations. Networks of spies, cultivated over years and often operating under deep cover, infiltrated enemy governments, military installations, and research facilities, transmitting vital secrets back to their handlers. Disinformation campaigns designed to sow discord, manipulate public opinion, and undermine enemy morale became a staple of Cold War propaganda. The CIA, through its covert operations branch, disseminated anti-communist propaganda, funded pro-Western media outlets, and orchestrated coups d'état to install sympathetic regimes. The KGB, through its vast network of agents and collaborators, spread disinformation about the United States, portraying it as an imperialist aggressor bent on global domination. Both agencies recognized the power of technology in gaining an edge in the intelligence game. The CIA invested heavily in developing sophisticated surveillance technologies, including listening devices, aerial reconnaissance platforms, and code-breaking machines, enabling it to monitor Soviet communications and track its adversaries' movements. The KGB, not to be outdone, developed its own arsenal of espionage tools, including sophisticated listening devices, concealed cameras, and techniques for intercepting and deciphering enemy communications. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of the CIA and KGB's rivalry lay in their shared fascination with mind control. MKUltra, the CIA's infamous program, sought to develop techniques for manipulating individuals through drugs, hypnosis, and psychological torture, hoping to create programmable assassins, extract information from resistant subjects, and control the very thoughts and actions of its enemies. The KGB, while its mind control programs remain shrouded in secrecy, is believed to have conducted similar experiments, seeking to harness the power of the human mind for its own nefarious purposes. Section 3: Legacies of Distrust, the Enduring Impact. The Cold War, though officially consigned to the history books with the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, continues to cast a long shadow over global politics and the relationship between nations. The rivalry between the CIA and KGB, once played out on a global stage, has left an enduring legacy of distrust, suspicion, and the chilling realization that even the most powerful institutions are not immune to corruption and the abuse of power. The revelations of MK-Ultra, coupled with the CIA's involvement in numerous coups, assassinations, and covert operations, shattered the agency's image as a protector of freedom and democracy. It exposed the dark underbelly of American foreign policy, revealing a willingness to subvert democracy, manipulate foreign governments, and engage in morally reprehensible activities in the name of national security. The KGB, with its history of brutal repression, mass surveillance, and human rights abuses, served as a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked state power and the ease with which a government can turn against its own people. While the KGB was officially disbanded in 1991, its legacy lives on in the form of its successor agency, the Federal Security Service, FSB, which continues to wield considerable power and influence in Russia. The Cold War's end did not usher in an era of peace and cooperation. Instead, it gave rise to new threats and challenges, from global terrorism to the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. The intelligence community, once focused on a single monolithic enemy, now faces a more complex and unpredictable threat landscape, requiring a fundamental reassessment of its methods, priorities, and relationship with the public it is sworn to protect. The lessons of the Cold War, particularly the abuses of power perpetrated by both the CIA and KGB, serve as a cautionary tale, a reminder that vigilance, transparency, and accountability are essential safeguards against the ever-present potential for tyranny, even in societies that pride themselves on their commitment to freedom and democracy. Section 1: The Unseen Hand, CIA Influence in the 21st Century. The demise of the Soviet Union did not diminish the CIA's role in shaping global events. Instead, it ushered in a new era of interventionism, with the agency's focus shifting towards combating terrorism, countering the rise of new global powers, and maintaining American hegemony in a rapidly changing world. From the battlefields of Afghanistan and Iraq to the covert operations unfolding in cyberspace, the CIA's unseen hand continues to shape the geopolitical landscape, often in ways that are hidden from public view and shrouded in secrecy. The legacy of the Cold War, with its emphasis on clandestine operations, regime change, and the manipulation of foreign governments, continues to influence the CIA's modus operandi. The agency's involvement in the so-called War on Terror has been particularly controversial, with its use of drone strikes, extraordinary rendition, and torture drawing widespread condemnation from human rights groups and raising serious questions about the legality and morality of its actions. The CIA's role in the 21st century extends far beyond the traditional realms of espionage and covert operations. The agency has become increasingly involved in shaping the global information landscape, using its resources to influence media narratives, discredit adversaries, and promote American interests. This often involves working through intermediaries, such as journalists, academics, and non-governmental organizations, to disseminate information that is favorable to the United States while suppressing dissenting voices. The CIA's vast resources, global reach, and culture of secrecy make it a formidable force in international affairs. Its actions, often taken without public scrutiny or accountability, have the potential to destabilize regions, topple governments, and spark conflicts with far-reaching consequences. As the world grapples with the challenges of the 21st century, the CIA's role and the need for greater transparency and oversight of its activities will continue to be a subject of intense debate and scrutiny. Section 2: Echoes of MK-Ultra, Modern Surveillance and Manipulation. While MK-Ultra's reign of terror officially ended in the 1970s, its chilling legacy continues to resonate in the 21st century, casting a long shadow over the relationship between governments and their citizens. The program's central premise, that the human mind is a battlefield to be conquered and controlled, has found new life in the digital age, where advances in technology have provided governments with unprecedented tools for surveillance, manipulation, and social control. The rise of the internet and social media has created a vast digital landscape ripe for exploitation by intelligence agencies seeking to monitor their citizens, gather intelligence, and shape public opinion. Social media platforms, with their treasure troves of personal data, have become invaluable tools for intelligence gathering, allowing agencies to track individuals' movements, monitor their communications, and build detailed profiles of their beliefs, habits, and associations. The lines between legitimate intelligence gathering and invasive surveillance have become increasingly blurred in the digital age. Governments, citing national security concerns, have enacted laws that grant them broad powers to collect and analyze vast amounts of data on their citizens, often without their knowledge or consent. This mass surveillance, while justified as a necessary evil in the fight against terrorism and crime, has eroded privacy rights and created a climate of fear and suspicion, where individuals are increasingly wary of expressing dissenting views or engaging in activities that might draw the attention of the authorities. The techniques pioneered by MKUltra, once confined to the shadows of secret laboratories, have found new applications in the realm of digital propaganda and psychological warfare. Social media platforms, with their ability to target specific audiences with tailored messages, have become powerful tools for shaping public opinion, sowing discord, and manipulating elections. The use of bots, trolls, and other forms of online disinformation has become commonplace, blurring the lines between reality and fiction and eroding trust in traditional media sources. Section 3, the fight for accountability, safeguarding the future. The spectre of government overreach, fueled by advances in technology and a post-9/11 world order that prioritizes security over liberty, hangs heavy over the 21st century. The revelations of MKUltra, the Snowden leaks, and countless other examples of government surveillance and manipulation serve as stark reminders that power left unchecked inevitably corrupts, and that even in democracies, the rights of the individual are often sacrificed on the altar of national security. The fight for accountability and transparency in government has never been more crucial. Citizens must demand greater oversight of intelligence agencies, pushing for laws and regulations that limit their power, protect privacy rights, and ensure that their actions are subject to public scrutiny. The media, often complicit in government cover-ups and propaganda campaigns, must rediscover its role as a watchdog, holding the powerful accountable and exposing abuses of power, no matter how uncomfortable the truth may be. Education and awareness are essential weapons in the fight against government overreach. Citizens must be informed about their rights, the dangers of surveillance and manipulation, and the importance of holding their elected officials accountable. Apathy and ignorance are the enemies of freedom, allowing governments to operate in the shadows, unconstrained by the rule of law or the will of the people. The battle for the future of freedom and democracy will be fought not on distant battlefields, but in the halls of power, in the courts of law, and in the hearts and minds of citizens. It will require courage, vigilance, and an unwavering commitment to the principles of liberty, justice, and the rule of law. The alternative, a world where governments operate with impunity, where privacy is a distant memory, and where dissent is silenced, is too chilling to contemplate. Section 1. The uncomfortable truth. The journey through the dark corridors of PizzaGate and MKUltra has been a harrowing one, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of power, the potential for corruption within institutions we are taught to trust, and the fragility of the very freedoms we often take for granted. The evidence, though often circumstantial and shrouded in layers of secrecy, paints a disturbing picture of powerful individuals operating above the law, shielded from accountability by a system that is more concerned with protecting its own than seeking justice. From the coded messages and disturbing imagery of PizzaGate to the mind-altering experiments and psychological torture of MKUltra, a common thread emerges: a willingness to exploit, manipulate, and control others in the pursuit of power, control, or some twisted sense of national security. The victims of these abuses, often silenced and forgotten, serve as a stark reminder that the pursuit of power without accountability inevitably leads to tyranny. We can choose to turn a blind eye to these uncomfortable truths, dismissing them as the ravings of conspiracy theorists or the relics of a bygone era. But to do so would be a grave disservice to the victims of these abuses, and a betrayal of the values of freedom, justice, and accountability that our society claims to hold dear. The stories of PizzaGate and MKUltra, though disturbing and difficult to stomach, serve as a wake-up call, A reminder that we must remain vigilant in the face of power, that we must question official narratives, and that we must demand transparency and accountability from those who hold positions of authority. Section 2. A call to action, protecting the vulnerable. The most chilling aspect of both PizzaGate and MKUltra is the exploitation of the vulnerable, the preying on those least able to defend themselves. The allegations of a pedophile ring operating with impunity, shielded by wealth and influence, strike at the very heart of our humanity, forcing us to confront the darkest depths of human depravity. MKUltra's victims, often unwitting participants in horrific experiments, were robbed of their agency, their minds and bodies subjected to unimaginable horrors in the name of national security. Their suffering, often dismissed or ignored, stands as a testament to the dangers of unchecked power and the ease with which ethical boundaries can be crossed in the pursuit of a greater good. We cannot, in good conscience, allow these abuses to continue unchecked. We must demand a thorough and impartial investigation into the allegations of PizzaGate, no matter how uncomfortable or politically charged the inquiry may become. The safety of children, the most vulnerable members of our society, must be our paramount concern, and we must be relentless in our pursuit of justice for those who have been harmed. We must also remain vigilant against the encroachment of government surveillance and control in the digital age. The lessons of MKUltra should serve as a stark warning against the dangers of allowing intelligence agencies to operate without oversight or accountability. We must demand greater transparency, stronger privacy protections, and a renewed commitment to the principles of individual liberty and freedom from unreasonable search and seizure. Section 3. Reclaiming our freedom, a future free from fear. The path forward is clear, though fraught with challenges. We must reject the politics of fear and division that have allowed these abuses to flourish. We must resist the temptation to turn a blind eye to uncomfortable truths, even when they challenge our preconceived notions or implicate those in power. We must reclaim our right to question, to dissent, to demand accountability from those who govern us. The future of our freedom and the safety of our children depends on our willingness to stand up for what is right, even when it is difficult. Even when it is unpopular, even when it means challenging the very foundations of the system that has failed to protect us. The journey will not be easy. We will face resistance from those who benefit from the status quo, from those who would silence dissent and maintain their grip on power. But we must not lose sight of the ultimate goal, a world where power is exercised with restraint, where transparency and accountability are not mere buzzwords but guiding principles, and where the rights of all individuals are respected and protected. The fight for freedom is a perpetual one, a relay race passed down from generation to generation. It is our duty to pick up the baton, to carry the torch of liberty forward, and to create a world where the horrors of PizzaGate and MKUltra are relegated to the dustbin of history. A stark reminder of what we must never allow to happen again.